sure my slides. So really fast, we'll just have a little antitrust statement here. You can read through this very quickly. We'll also be following up with the recording and the slides at the end of the presentation. If you have any questions about our antitrust statement or our marketing policy, feel free to contact our CEO, Christy Slay, or John Johnson, or let us know at the end of this meeting, and we're happy to address them. But now the fun stuff. Welcome everybody to our July Thesis 2022 live webinar series. My name is Amy Scovell Weaver, and I am the new Director of Retail for the Sustainability Consortium. I'm very happy to be here and to welcome you. I'm just gonna check the chat. Yep, there we go. Well, as Jesse just put in the chat, you can post any questions that you have to the chat and they will be monitored. We will have a question and answer session at the end. So we'll go through, present a little bit about thesis and the new changes that we have for 2022, and then open it up for general questions and answers. I want to thank everybody so much for taking the time today, no matter where you are. Time is the most precious thing in the world, and just really happy that you're spending it with us, and we want to ensure it's as productive as possible for you. So let us know, feel free to use the chat, be interactive. We really want this to be successful for you as we all go together and start Thesis 2022. So first, I'll just do an overview of the team. Been in TSC for about 5 months, and my name is Amy. I'm the Director of Retail. I'm based in Phoenix, Arizona. We also have Erin Kylene. She is our Director of Science and Impact, and she is based in Arkansas. We have Louise Sturgis, our Manager of Retail, and she is based in Arkansas. And then I'm also very happy to present Teresa Garcia Moore, and she is our Manager of Science and Impact, and she is based in Arkansas. So I am the Arizona holdout. Everybody else is in Arkansas, and I'm attributed to Arizona State University, and everybody else is with the University of Arkansas. So we're really happy to be here with you, and moving right along. So first, we just introduced who we are. We'd really like to hear from you in terms of who you are. So Jesse, I think we can go ahead and do the poll. And the first question is if you're a retailer or a supplier. And then we also have a couple questions about if you're new to Thesis, please let us know. And if you're not new, go ahead and let us know. And then also, if you know the answer and you may not, how many retailers you're planning to share your assessments with. And we'll go ahead and give about 30 seconds for that poll. And I'll just say I'm new to Thesis since it's my first year. I just joined. Great. And this is my first time using the poll feature, so I am brand new. Are we able to see the results of the poll? Perfect. So we have about 26% of people are new to Thesis, 74% are not. So that's great. You will teach me things. 94% of people here are suppliers and about 6% are retailers. Thank you so much. Special thank you to our retailers for joining. I know you're learning as we go, so this is great that you're here and supporting your suppliers. And how many retailers are you planning to share assessment with? Looks like the majority of people say one retailer, and then about 20% are unsure. So this is great. And then the rest kind of moving along. And of course, we'll get into this more, but the great benefit of Thesis is that it can be sent to multiple retailers, same assessments, multiple retailers. And as I'll review right now, we have our busiest campaign season on record, and we actually are having a season, which is the fall. So I'll get into that. We'll also get into some of the new and improved changes that we've made for Thesis this year based on retailer feedback and supplier feedback. And then we'll also walk through sort of some resources for suppliers and also just do a quick walkthrough of Thesis for any suppliers here that are new to Thesis and just a little recap for those that are not. And then I will introduce Louise with Supplier Support, and she'll review some of our support that we offer to help you use thesis the best way that you can, and to just get through the process really well and successfully. And then we'll go right into question and answer. So first, as I mentioned, we're having a season this year, and the season is in the fall. It began August and kind of go through November. And it's our largest season on record. We have more retailers using thesis than this year, all at the same time than ever before. We're very excited about this. And this is really great for suppliers, because what it means is that you will be directly able to work with retailers who are asking you to complete thesis, and to be able to send your assessments to multiple retailers, not just one, and to really push that sustainability impact, both for the retailer and for you as your company. So we're very excited about this. This is a snapshot of our retailers who are using thesis this year. That includes Woolworths, Walmart, Tractor Supply Company, Ahold Delhaize USA, and then Walgreens Boots Alliance. You may also see some from other retailers that just haven't confirmed yet, and we're getting more as we go on and get closer to August. So just wanted to let you know. I think what this is really important, and what it means for you as suppliers, is that you may see multiple requests from multiple retailers asking you to submit for thesis. If you have any questions about that, please contact our help desk or contact me, and we'll help avoid any confusion for you as multiple retailers ask for you to submit thesis. But it's wonderful. It really shows the drive for thesis, and also the need for retailers to understand their supply chains and what that means for social and environmental sustainability. So we're very excited about this. We do have some changes to thesis, and I will turn it over to Erin to review those.
Thank you, Amy. It's great to be here, and thanks everyone for joining. So I'd just like to go over a few of the enhancements to thesis content that have been deployed in 2022. So we have, in general, we review thesis content annually, and we take feedback that we get from thesis users via the help desk, as well as our members. And then we always are keeping an eye on the most recent and relevant science. And so our content within thesis is continuously evolving to reflect the latest and greatest science, and making sure that it's functional and user-friendly for you all. So this year we have two new assessments: animal feed and riding mowers and garden tractors. And these were developed in response to retailer demand. So we have new retailers, and coming from slightly different retail sector types. And so we developed these assessments to help capture some of the priority products that they're looking into. So animal feed are for companies supplying animal feed for livestock, poultry, and fish, composed of multiple ingredients and derived from both plants and animals. And riding mowers and garden tractors are those zero-turn radius mowers that you can see, around the neighborhoods and more out towards the country. So those are our two new assessments. We have a total of 612 this year. So yeah, just those are the two new ones. And then in terms of, this is just a high level overview of some of a few of the key updates to our KPI content. And on the left, you see the assessments that were affected by the update. And then on the right, you see in italics the title of the KPI with a bullet describing what was updated. For the most part, these are what we would consider a minor update, not any new KPIs added to existing assessments. We haven't removed any this year. These are just more enhancements to improve clarity, or adding additional resources. For example, we identified a few of our KPIs are aligned with Fair Trade USA. So if your produce is certified by Fair Trade USA, there's some alignment there and efficiency gains. So through this presentation, we'll highlight where you can look for those resources when you're in the assessment. so you can see what other certifications we are aligned with and which applies for, answering some of our KPIs.
I'm muted. Hashtag 2020. Thank you, Erin, so much for that overview of our changes. As she mentioned, they haven't been as extensive as previous years, but we have made some changes based on supplier and retailer feedback, and I'll review how to find those. And we really hope those will be helpful for you as you move forward. So just to recap, most of you know what THESIS is, but for those who don't, this is, our independent science-based sustainability performance solution that works with suppliers to be able to report one-stop shop to multiple retailers, how they're performing on specific key performance indicators that measure social and environmental hotspots within a product category's supply chain. I think the most important thing, and I keep mentioning it, but one more time, multi-retailer communication and supplier self-reporting. So this is really for you to report on how you're doing and then to send that to a retailer. And it's really also designed for you to send as many assessments as you'd like and to do as many questions as you'd like within the assessments to really provide that comprehensive, holistic understanding of where you are in terms of your performance on various social and environmental hotspots within a product category. And it's designed to help you and to really use that knowledge to understand where there are opportunities and also where there are challenges, and then to work with your retailers that you supply to on those, and also to work with us to let us know how we can be supportive and also how we can point you in the right direction towards finding resources that help you overcome any challenges that you're facing. So this is just an overview of the different values that we really see as really critical, and that we've for suppliers, and that which suppliers have told us they find THESIS valuable. So again, that opportunity for recognition from different retailers, identify efficiency opportunities, so ways that you can really see value, long-term financial value in any improvements that you'd like to make, and also to identify any unmanaged risks. And also to receive tailored action recommendations at the end of THESIS that really kind of point towards resources for you. And to access resources on supply chain impacts. And right there on the right is an example of a scorecard that you would receive at the end of completing your assessment. And I'll just quickly say, if you have any questions, always email help@sustainabilityconsortium.org. I'll keep emphasizing that throughout our presentation, but that's really where we want all questions to go to so we can track them and also provide you the best service we can as you're filling out your assessments. So really fast overview. The first, create your account on THESIS. If you're a returning user, you're just going to click renew. And it will take you to the right page to go ahead and renew your license. If you are new to THESIS, you'll go ahead and create a new account and purchase your license. I'd also like to remind everybody that right now, THESIS 2022 is set to open on August 1st. So say if you want to go in right now and purchase your license, do not do that. Do not purchase your license now if you haven't already purchased, because right now we're in THESIS 2021 and you would have to repurchase for THESIS 2022. So big reminder, I should have put it up here in big flashing letters, but THESIS 2022 is set to open August 1st. So that's really dependent on different retailer communications about campaigns. That's really when you want to go in and purchase your license, which should be after August 1st. Don't purchase now because right now we're still in THESIS 2021. Erin, anything I've missed on that point?
You covered it, Amy. Thank you.
Thank you. Covered it very well. Then you'll go ahead and select your THESIS assessments for what you want to sell. So this will really take you through a various selection hierarchy that really drills down more and more into the specific assessments. So Erin mentioned we have 612 assessments. That's a lot. And but each assessment is designed to cover whatever you supply. So first it'll ask you, all right, tell us what you sell. You sell apparel. It'll ask you to get more specific, great, baby apparel, children's apparel, and then it will go ahead and identify the thesis performance assessments that align directly with what you're selling. Pay special attention to what's included and what's not included. So great example here for children's clothing. You can see that shirts, pants, and outerwear are included, but activewear, underwear, and accessories are not. Again, if you have any questions about which assessments that you should select, ping help at sustainabilityconsortium.org, and we'll help you get through that. This is just another reminder to also start this as soon as possible. So once Thesis 2022 opens, or once your specific campaign that you're doing with the retailer starts, go ahead and log in right away. Don't procrastinate, because you really want to make sure you're selecting the right assessments for you, and that you're hitting the ground running. At this point, you can also select the buyers that you sell to. So you can, and as I mentioned, you can select as many as you'd like, maybe select all of them. This is just an example. You will see different retailers who are participating in Thesis for Thesis 2022 come up for your options. You can also put in other non-participating buyers that you sell to. So for example, let's say one of your major buyers is not using Thesis. Let us know that. That's really valuable information. Let's say we have 40, 50 suppliers telling us that they're supplying to the specific retailer who isn't on Thesis. That's really great value for us to be able to let that retailer know that their suppliers are participating in Thesis, and maybe they should too. And it's really about ensuring that we can provide the foundation for sharing as much as possible. So encouraging you to use that feature. And then also a reminder, you can match your assessments to the different buyers that you're supplying to. So let's say you're only doing children's clothing for Walmart and Sprouts. Go ahead and do that. Let's say you're doing spinach and leaf vegetables to Walmart and Kroger. You can go ahead and click them for each assessment that you selected. You will have a dashboard, and that dashboard will review and sort of provide an overview of where you are in the process. So let's say you've selected 9 assessments. It will show the 9 assessments you've selected for Thesis 2022. And then as you submit them, your completed box over here will go ahead and uptick. So let's say you've submitted 1, this will change to 8, and that will change to 1. You can also add assessments at any time. So let's say you're going through and you think, wow, I really would like to add this assessment. Go ahead and add it, and it'll go ahead and pop it into the dashboard. And you can return as much as you'd like to see how your ranking updates over time. So this is probably, I would say, the most important, because this is the helpful resources that you can access throughout your assessment. So as you're working through it, on the left side of every assessment that you pick, you will see a list of helpful links and tools to help you answer the assessment. This includes the general guidance, which is a PDF that overviews how to calculate the time frame that you'd like to, the time frame that we're asking for you in terms of data to provide. It will also remind you that we're asking for global data that is non-retailer specific. So we're not asking for data that's specific to one region or specific to one retailer. This is meant to cover your global supply chain, your global data, and non-retailer specific. That's really what it's designed to do. It'll also link you to Thesis Help Center. So our Help Center, which has videos and other tips and services. You can look at a video and get some ideas on how to calculate certain things or any questions that you have. It also will have each assessment, which each question and each possible answer in a PDF form and an Excel form. Why is that important? So let's say you're answering Thesis and you need to get information from a lot of people within your company. You can go ahead and download that PDF, send it to the people within your company, or print it out and show it to them. And then they can go ahead and help you answer the questions that you need with the data that they have. We also have various KPI calculation tools that are available to you as you answer Thesis. So that could include, a water use calculator or a greenhouse gas intensity calculator. And these will be pinpointed as tools and ways and opportunities to access them as you're answering the Thesis assessment questions. So now we're getting into answering. So here's an example of a question. As I mentioned, each assessment is built up of key performance indicators, KPIs, and we don't have any assessments that go over 16 questions. So it's designed to be very comprehensive within a short amount of questions to be as useful for you as possible. This is an example of a question around packaging. So it's asking if your organization participates in an effort to improve collection and recovery rates. I also want to make sure everybody sees this little blue box called guidance. This one's really important. So you click on that and it will give you guidance on how to answer the question. It'll also provide, tips on how to calculate it, background information, definitions on what we mean, and other resources. So really encourage you to see that little blue box. I also encourage you, as you're just starting a thesis, let's say you've opened up the assessment, go ahead and take a read through all the questions at once. And then you can start with the easiest questions first. Like, for example, that you participate in an effort to improve collection and recovery rates. Go ahead and click B. And for some of the harder questions, you can save them and go forward within your company and get the information that you need. On the left side, you'll see you have a little scroll bar, sort of like an iPod. That's what it makes me think of, the old iPods. It'll tell you your progress. So as you're going through the assessment, it'll say, hey, you're 20% done, you're 40% done, you're 50% done. Just a note that we really encourage you to answer as many questions as you can, even if they're hard. And I would say, especially if they're hard, answer as many questions as you can to really provide that comprehensive understanding of where you are. And then use your thesis scorecard. So after you finish each assessment, you'll receive a scorecard that tells you how you've done. And it'll also benchmark you in two different ways. The first will be on all of the participating suppliers in thesis who are also answering that question or that assessment. And then it'll benchmark you according to the suppliers that are answering the assessment and then submitting for a specific retailer. So you can see how you're benchmarked related to all of the suppliers for a specific retailer or buyer, and then all of the suppliers within thesis answering that particular assessment. We also offer an opportunity for you to interpret and prioritize your thesis results for you specifically. Within Thesis Help Center, we have a video called Prioritizing Your Thesis Results for Action. Highly recommend that you go ahead and look at that after you've completed your assessments, and it'll really help you determine really what you do with that data beyond just sending it to a retailer. What do you want to do internally, and how can you identify those opportunities and those efficiency gains within your company? Few best practices that I've touched on a little bit, but I'll go ahead and recap. The first is to begin as soon as possible. So if you're associating with a particular retailer, each retailer campaign is about 8 weeks. You don't want to log in at week 6. You really want to log in that first week, get an understanding of what's being asked of you, what assessments that you'd like to complete, and really begin as soon as possible. That also helps us. So if you do have questions, message help@sustainabilityconsortium.org, and we can help answer those for you to really ensure that you're putting the best foot forward and you have everything you need for this to be successful for you. I'll remind you that we really want that thesis is designed to capture global data, global supplies, so not specific region, not specific site, global data, and the last available year of data, and is meant to be non-retailer specific. If you look at the general guidance document, that will really review everything in full detail for you. The time that it takes to respond really varies for supplier. So I can't really tell you how long each assessment will take, but I'll say again, start as soon as possible, start with the easiest questions first, and utilize the resources as best as you can. Be aware that this is a process. So you will improve over time. And really what we say is this is about knowledge is power. So having the knowledge of how you're doing and where you see opportunities for improvement is really valuable. So maybe if this is your first time using thesis, you may not score so great, but I'll argue that any score is good because it's valuable information for you and for a retailer. And this is a process. This is a journey. We're here to support you, and the retailers are here to support you as well. And just a reminder to respond even if it's difficult. And again, to leverage the resources that we've provided for you. So with that, I will actually turn it over to my colleague, Louise, and she will review the different supplier support options that we have to help you.
So as you're getting started, what do you do if you have questions, if you need additional support. So we want you to be successful. As Amy has said, the whole team is here to help you be successful. And so we have a lot of resources available to help you. First and foremost, we always recommend that you start by reading through all of the guidance and helpful resources that we provide. There's a lot of good information in there that's tailored and specifically about helping you work through thesis at your own pace, and keep you working through thesis at your pace. All of these are things that Amy has mentioned, but we just wanted to pull them together to kind of highlight that these resources are available to you. So we have our Thesis Help Center, which is a library of self-guided, they're in-depth support videos and tutorials that walk you through common questions. These can include things like how to get started on thesis, collecting and validating your data, navigating guidance and resources, in-depth KPI tutorials, and even explainers on common sustainability topics such as circular economy, greenhouse gas emissions. To access the Help Center, you can find the link in this PowerPoint. It's also, as Amy said, included in every assessment. And then at the bottom right, you'll select Showcases, and the password for all videos, it's the same, it's thesis. We have the thesis help desk, and you're welcome to email us at the email address on the screen, which is help@sustainabilityconsortium.org. Anticipate a response within 12 hours. We're located in Central Standard Time, and we're here to help. And that's the point. You should feel free and comfortable to reach out and ask questions. We have additional supplier support. Q&A office hours coming up monthly. There's one August 16th, September 13th, and October 12th. And then there will be additional supplier specific sessions that you'll be communicated via retailer. And we have additional thesis lives coming up. So there's one on August 23rd, where we'll provide more information on our trained service provider program, which we'll actually talk about in a moment. And we're actively scheduling more thesis lives. And so I recommend that you keep an eye out for those. Amy, will you go to the next slide, please?
Absolutely. And I just wanted to chime in and say for the supplier support Q&A office hours, you will receive invites to those and announcements just like you did for Thesis Live today. And those will be coming forward.
So if you need more in-depth and hands-on assistance, then once you're able to get through the guidance and the help desk and the help center, we have our trained service providers who are experienced sustainability consultants who are specially trained and certified on thesis, and they can provide that specialized support for all stages of a thesis campaign. This includes preparing for assessments, preparing for thesis, data collection, analysis, stakeholder mapping. And during a campaign, it can include assessment selection and completion. And then post-campaign, they can help with creating improvement plans based on your results and improving results year over year. We've found in the past that companies who hired trained service providers scored on average 34% higher on their assessments than those who did not. So hopefully that provides that value that everyone's looking for. And it looks like the data says that provides a lot of value. And a best practice with our trained service providers is to get started with them as soon as possible. I'm sure all of you are aware of the complexities of your initiatives and your data environments at your organization. So we want to give the trained service providers plenty of time to support your organization's success. You can learn more on our website, which the address is included on the slide. I want to add a note that we're currently revamping the website to improve its design in an effort to support all of you and kind of create clarity there. And so it'll have some changes over the next couple of weeks in case you log in soon and it looks differently. And then here's where I'll pass it back to Amy for our Q&A section.
Thank you so much, Louise. So as I mentioned, we'll follow up with the recording and the slides. Don't forget to contact help@sustainabilityconsortium.org for any questions you have. We want you to succeed. And now we can go right into question and answer. session. So I know we have some in the chat, and I'll turn it over to Jesse to go ahead and review those. And then if you have any questions or would like to raise your hand and ask verbal questions, happy to do that too.
Sure, thanks, Amy. We've answered a few, but looks like the next one is, does the cost of the license vary on the number of buyers?
It does not, and thank you. That's a wonderful question. And I'm realizing I didn't put the cost in the slides, so that was an omission on my part. The cost for the license is $699, and that is a one-time license purchase fee. You just need to purchase for each year of thesis. So, and you do not need to purchase it and repurchase it for different retailers. So, one-time purchase, $699. And you can send as many assessments as you'd like to as many retailers who are using thesis on that one license. For the entire, and also I'll just say for the entire year of thesis. So thesis 2022 is opening August 1st. So let's say you purchase that license August 1st, that license will be good until the next thesis year, which would be thesis 2023, opens the following August.
Okay, great. Another question is if we know when the Walmart assessment will be due.
So I can't share that with you now. I didn't get clarification on that, but you will be getting, we'll follow up actually via email, or I can follow up with that after confirming that. But we can follow up via email, or you can email help@sustainabilityconsortium.org and we can follow up individually.
Okay, is there a way to download the assessment question? This would make it easier to get answers from different parts of our company.
Absolutely. So there is a way to download with PDF and the Excel version. Erin?
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. I was just gonna, I would add that both are very handy. If you're wanting to collect actual values, I think the Excel is probably gonna be easier, because then, you know, as you share that, you can share that Excel with different parts of your supply chain and they can put those values in. And so it's easier to track those numbers. And then that other person in the supply chain will have all of the related information, which when we say related information, it's like the KPI guidance. So the calculation and scope, as well as tools that might help calculate the answer to the KPI, or certifications and standards that are relevant to that issue being measured.
Okay, when you say last available year of data, is that the 2021 calendar year?
Well, so the guidance for each KPI will specify the acceptable data reporting period, but typically most KPIs request that the calculations be made using data from a 12-month period that ended within 12 months of the date you're responding to this question. I'm happy to add that to the chat as well for everyone to reference. I'll do that now.
Okay, another question about dates. You guys have mentioned that it opens August 1st, but when does, I don't know, this is going to vary by retailer, but when does it close?
Yeah, so thesis 2022 will not close for another year. So we do revisions every year. And you can submit assessments throughout the year to different retailers. There's no close for thesis in general. However, each retailer does have close dates for when they would ask you to have your assessment by, and that's typically within 8 weeks. So for example, let's say a retailer is starting September 1st with their campaign would probably end November, in late October, early November, and then that would be the last date for you to submit assessments for that campaign. The reason why there is date restrictions for each retailer campaign using thesis is so we can go ahead and it's really more about data. So we can go ahead, take the assessments, review the data, and share that with the retailer for them to then make have insight into all their suppliers that they're asking to submit thesis for. Does that answer that question? I realized that was a bit muddled.
I think so.
Great, thank you.
Another question about dates. When can we start? You mentioned that it opens August 1st, but when can we start answering thesis questions?
So after you purchase the license, you can start answering thesis questions. Although the caveat would be if you'll be receiving different retailer communications for different campaigns. So a retailer may ask you to start answering questions on a specific date, but you're welcome to, do it before then and submit assessments. You just may need to resubmit your assessment or create a new assessment for a retailer, dependent on if they've asked you to join thesis. But just a reminder, August 1st is when thesis 2022 is opening. So if you go in right now, that would be for thesis 2021, and you'd have to repurchase, your license for thesis in August, and you'll be receiving communication. So when it opens, we'll send out a mass communication saying thesis is open for 2022. Log in, purchase your license, and you can begin answering assessments.
Great. Does TSC have rationale why a retailer should use thesis responses instead of retailer-specific sustainability surveys? This might be helpful to engage other retailers.
It's a great question. I can certainly take a shot at answering that, but I'd also like to actually turn it over to Erin, because Erin, I think you have a really good way of answering that.
So the question is,
the value for retailers in terms of using global data versus retailer specific.
Okay, so part of our, the goal of thesis is we know that there's a thing called reporting burden. And so that's one of the main issues we want to address with thesis is to reduce that reporting burden. So that's one important aspect to not supplying retailer specific information so by reporting at the global level, you are able to share that information. You calculate and aggregate that information once, and then you're able to share it multiple times. Additionally, what we understand, through user experience is that it's important for retailers to understand the risks associated with your global supply. And so if you have a subsection of your supply chain that goes specifically to that retailer, we understand that. However, that retailer is still exposed to the risks that are part of the global supply chain. And so while retailers might have some retailer specific initiatives and therefore have some supplemental assessments that are really focused on that specific retailer or that specific supply that's going to that retailer, thesis brings that global perspective and is really a tool for you as a supplier to understand what risks and opportunities are available across the entire global supply chain.
Thank you, Erin. That was perfect. And I'll just say an example. Ultimately, if a retailer is sourcing from a factory and that factory, has something very egregious that comes out as being egregious in the media, it's not going to matter if they didn't source from that, if they only source from one factory at part of the company and the other one was okay. It's about the global risk and the global supply chain. So the retailer specific risk of that is still there. And that's really why we focus on global.
Great. What is the intersection between thesis and Walmart's Project Gigaton?
Erin, I may ask you to answer that question as well, although I can give a very high level answer, which is that Walmart's Gigaton is retailer specific and designed to just focus on carbon emissions, and thesis is global, non-retailer specific, and does not just focus on carbon, but focuses on social and environmental hotspots that science and that we have that science has shown us and we've been able to show are most relevant within a certain product category supply chain. Anything else to add to that, Erin?
No, I think you hit the main points. Thanks, Amy.
Perfect. I'm still learning, everybody. So Erin's really helping me get a good grasp on things. But that's it. I think I would say Walmart's Gigaton, it's refined focus, asked by Walmart, retailer specific carbon, thesis, global, non-retailer focus, and designed to capture a majority of environmental and social hotspots, not just carbon.
Is it possible or even recommended to use the same calculators from thesis to answer/calculate for other reports like CDP?
Happy to answer there. So with the example of CDP, we have done alignment work so that if you report to CDP, you can take those values and plug them directly into thesis. And so that's one of the reasons we really recommend you read the KPI guidance before answering it, because there are those opportunities for efficiency gains, and we do a lot of work on our end to align with other organizations, with other initiatives in order to not reinvent the wheel. So if you're already participating in CDP, that's those KPIs that are aligned, you can just take that content and enter it into thesis.
Okay, thanks, Erin. Amy, I don't see any other questions that we haven't either verbally or responded to or in the chat. If you are an attendee, we have some time. If you have any other questions, please feel free. Please feel free to post them now. Give you just another couple of minutes unless any of the panelists have anything else that they would like to share.
Just chime in, and for new users, after you pass the payment section on the platform, you'll be presented with that selection hierarchy. And I just want to say that if you're using that selection hierarchy and still have some questions of which assessment is most applicable to the products you supply, please reach out to help@sustainabilityconsortium.org, and our team will be more than happy to confirm and or highlight the appropriate assessment for the products that you supply.
Thanks, Erin. I did have, there's a request to go back to the slide that shows the new KPIs.
I can do that. Bear with me for the rewind here. So we have the two new assessments here, and then here are the assessments with changes to any KPIs.
Yeah, so this year we don't have any new KPIs. These are existing KPIs that just had some minor adjustments for the purpose of clarity. And well, in the case of pollinators, we added a response option not applicable because of certain growing practices that it's technically infeasible to use pesticides we're asking about. Maybe if you want to go to the slide before this, in case Mary was asking about the new KPI sets, or sorry, thesis assessments.
Yeah, and then Erin, any changes to the KPIs, will those be noted in each assessment? Or not to the KPI, sorry, to the modifications to the questions?
Yes. So additionally, when you're on the platform, to the left, you'll have the helpful links, which is where you have a link to download the assessment PDF. And if you go to the bottom of that, we have a release note section. And so there you can go and reference the entire history of that body of content. And you can see through the years what changes have been made. And yeah, that full list is there. And yes, I see the question in the chat about were there any updates to apparel KPIs? There were not any updates to apparel KPIs this year.
Great. So if nobody has any other questions, we'll go ahead and give you 10 minutes back or 15 minutes back of your time, but also I'll stay on for a little bit. And we can just stay on in case you have anything else that you'd like to add. And I'm sorry, I know there's a little bit of feedback. Perfect. And just a reminder, we're here to help you. And we're very excited that you're here. And this is, we're all in it together. If you have any questions, please contact help@sustainabilityconsortium.org. And we are very pumped for Thesis 2022. And we hope you are too. And it looks like, oh no, these are just some different clarifications. We are good. And yes, Paul, the presentation will be made available. You will all receive an email with the recording and the presentation. And that is that. So thank you everybody so much. There's a few other, oh no, perfect. Paul, you are very welcome. Thank you everybody. Have a wonderful day and looking forward to embarking on Thesis 2022 with all of you.
Thank you all.